The Last Wish. Welcome everybody to Wish Talk. We have an exciting show for you today. As I am sure you all know, we have a very special guest today. I would even say, Mr. Ryan lowered his voice, I would even say the most important person on the planet right now. The audience cheered in their seats at Studio 9 in the back lot of Vector TV Studios. Mr. Ryan continued, but before our very special guest comes out, we, meaning myself and the panel, are going to go over the highlights since the era of wishes started. Let's take a look. Roll it. The studio lights went low as a large screen rolled down from the ceiling. Exciting motivational music played, highlighting the Vector TV studio icon. A video feed began to play as a deep baritone voice narrated. That moment, the trumpet blasted through the air before the entire world to hear. In that moment, some were asleep in their beds, others at work in their offices, and some were at play. The trumpet struck fear deep into hearts of mankind until the voice spoke. The rumbling of the voice jarred the hearts and minds of all. The voice of Saturn captured our attention to the sky. Humanity must heed my command, the voice said. Every man and woman over the age of 25 will be granted one wish. There was silence, and the planet Saturn flashed in the sky with one bright flare. Life is like a soft whisper or a fleeting thought. Life is but a dream. 3 rules. There must always be 2. Time cannot be changed, and no additional wishes. Saturn flashed brightly once more. The wishes began to be claimed almost instantly. Mr. Ryan smiled and looked away from the device he held in his hand. Now, before we continue, I'd like to address some of the funniest moments in the Wish era. First, let's hear from Tyron Green. Tyron Green was a well-kept black man with a tailored suit and thick black-rimmed eyeglasses. His complexion was flawless, as was his smile. He spoke with confidence. I'd have to say my favorite wish was a 2-part combo. I think I know where you're going with this. Mr. Ryan almost laughed, but kept it inside. Mr. Ryan spoke in broken laughter. I have to say, when I saw myself as an African American for the first time, I freaked out. But after the 100th time, I kind of liked the transformation. Mr. Green shook his head in agreement. I wish everyone could have stayed black, but seconds later, everyone turned into circus clowns. The panel laughed. And what about you, Denise? What wish took you for a ride? Honesty, I think I can speak for everyone here. When we all became rich, I liked that one the best. Millions of dollars in the bank. All of our houses turned into mansions. It was great. Mr. Ryan smiled. I agree with that one, but remind the audience about what came next. Denise frowned. Desolation, she said. Can you even believe that someone wished for desolation? Mr. Ryan added. Everyone on the panel shook their heads in dismay and utter repulsiveness. Denise continued. It was horrible. People were dying from all kinds of diseases. A day when the entire earth was scorched. It was total chaos. I saw my son die, and I have never forgotten it. To be fair, Mr. Ryan spoke up. Everyone was brought back because someone wished everything back to the way it was, to the original state of things. So, yeah, I know, Denise said. Seeing a loved one like that die is still traumatizing nonetheless. Oh, come on! Archie Tilbit barked out. Archie Tilbit was the 3rd and final panel member and an expert at wish tracking. He founded Wish Tracking, LLC, and had been tracking the wish count origins for the last 300 years, not counting the missing 18 years. Archie gave Denise a glaring look. Are you really going to sit there and say you're traumatized? Let's go over the facts. Now understand something, folks, here in studio and out there in the digital space. These are humanity wishes, not individual wishes. Individual wishes don't even matter because so many people wished for a reset, and the personal wish was just wiped out. There have been so many crazy wishes, and we are all still here, alive. Archie paused, and his countenance changed. The wishes are a testament to the will of humanity. People all over the world wished for the most egregious things and the nicest things. And let's not forget, we have been wished back to life many times. Stats don't lie. 65% of wishes brought us all back to our original selves just before the first wish was even made. Which, Mr. Ryan chimed in, leads us here. And right now in the Vector TV studios for the first time, we have Miss Jane Barber. The studio audience clapped as the monitors above the stage blinked cheer for audience enthusiasm. Jane walked onto the stage from the back room. She wore a pair of jeans and a plain black t-shirt. Her hair was brown and straight, not too long, not too short, and her makeup was basic foundation with a hint of pink on her lips. Jane sat down in a chair with a few feet separating her from the expert panel. Thank you, Miss Barber, for being with us today. We feel fortunate to have you here on the show at Vector TV Studios. Mr. Ryan smiled directly into the camera. You have something very special to reveal to the world today. But before we do that, please tell everyone out there who may not know, why are you here on the program today? I have the last wish, Jane blurted out emotionless. The audience clapped ferociously. Yes, that's right, Mr. Ryan said. He quieted down and whispered, That's right, the last wish. Now before we inquire on what that wish would be, let's take a look at the final 10. Roll it. Intense music pounded as the video panned to a line of people standing and looking toward the camera. The movement was fast-moving and showed the line of 10 individuals of different genders and creeds. Jane was at the end of the line, and she was bashful and light-heartedly as she hid her face from the view of the camera with her hand. One by one, the wishes were made, and the contestants were eliminated with a giant red X blurbed across the screen, all for the watching audience to enjoy. Mr. Ryan looked into his handheld monitor and went through the wishes one by one. The first wish by Neville Dingleman was for England to be the most powerful nation on the planet. Our studios here weren't affected, Mr. Ryan said, but America and some of the other nations on the planet looked a whole lot different than they do now. The next wish was made by Jamal Johnson, and he wished to meet Tall Brown, the basketball star from the Arizona Roadrunners. That was a good wish, Archie said, but the third wish by Karen Krause eliminated the first two, making pretty much everything the way it was before any wishes were made, with the exception of her being the most beautiful woman in the world, and that didn't last long. Denise squirmed in her chair. I really liked the fourth wish. I could have lived that way for the rest of my life. Me too, Archie said. Denise continued. Wouldn't have been great if everyone looked like anime characters. This was a wish I didn't mind as well, Tyron Green added. But it was taken away by the fifth wish, Mr. Ryan said. Fifth wish. Mr. Ryan motioned to the video feed, which showed a middle-aged man walking in the middle of the street in a suburban neighborhood in India. Jarvis Middleton. He was the last wish who wanted to be a superhero. Everyone saw what he did. The cameras caught it all, Denise said. When he started floating in the air and his eyes turned bright red, I knew it. I've read a lot of comic books, and I knew lasers were coming out. When he destroyed all those houses and killed all those people, it was pretty sad, Archie added. And that leads us to the sixth wish by James Gott, which just so happens to be Jane's best friend. We all thought James was going to wish everything back to normal and rid the world of Jarvis Middleton, but he didn't. Do you know what he wished for Jane? Archie cleared his throat and interrupted the question. Nobody knows, Mr. Ryan. We are all pretty sure he never even had a wish in the first place. Jane sat up in her chair, slightly uncomfortable, while the panel talked about her friend. Well, that's enough on the sixth wish. The seventh wish was a little sad. Everyone watched Sandra Bellows with a close eye. I mean, they were watching all of the final four. The weird thing was when she stepped off the curb on Oxford Street in London, no one saw the car coming. Who would have guessed a man with a medical condition would have lost speed control and end Sandra Bellows' life at 100 miles per hour? That's just one lost wish of hundreds of millions. You're right, Mr. Ryan, Archie said. A lot of people held on to their wishes, especially after the excitement when the voice of Saturn first spoke to mankind. What do you think, Mr. Green? Mr. Ryan asked. Mr. Green smiled. Use it or lose it. That's my motto. Denise lightly touched Mr. Green's shoulder and laughed with him. Good rule of thumb. Remember, the wishes became a huge underground market. People were buying wishes from other people, assuring them a good life if the wishes were changed. Many people just... Denise paused. Wasted their wish. It's unbelievable. Mr. Ryan quieted the studio audience at Vector TV Studios. Now the eighth wish, a pact between two lovers, John Henney and Ellie Waterford. John wished that only he and Ellie were alive on Earth. We called that the 18 years of silence. Good thing the electrical grid kept the cameras running. Otherwise, we may have never known about the missing time. Good thing John wished for everything to keep running. Who knows what we would have come back to, Archie said. You're right about that, Mr. Green added. It was a clever wish which followed the rules of leaving too. Denise smiled. Leave it to the woman to have sense, right? After 18 years, Jane wished everyone back. And that was the ninth wish. I guess she grew old of John. John is pretty annoying, Archie said. That toothy grin and ridiculous mullet. Ironic that the universe was placed in the hands of a moron like that. I would have wished things a lot different with kind of power. Mr. Green glared at Archie with a smile. What did you wish for? Archie's face turned red. I know. Come on, Archie, let's hear it. Mr. Green was persistent. My childhood crush, Archie stammered. Ha! Now that was a waste, Mr. Green shouted. Archie looked disappointed. We all have our weaknesses, you know. More like obsessions, Denise added. Mr. Ryan stood up. Now that is probably why Saturn spoke to us on that fateful day. For humanity to reveal its true nature, possibly satisfy the deepest desires of our hearts. The balance of the good and evil always seems to tip the scales back to neutrality. Just a thought, but who really knows? Saturn hasn't spoken since that day, and it's been almost 369 years to this day, which leaves us here at Vector TV Studios and all of humanity with one final wish. Jane, the question everyone is dying to ask. Mr. Ryan paused for dramatic effect. What will be our final wish to end the era of wishes? Jane looked at Mr. Ryan, emotionless and disconnected. Jane? Mr. Ryan asked. James did make a wish, Jane said. What? Mr. Ryan asked. You all said my friend James didn't make a wish, but he did, Jane said. The expert panel fidgeted in their chairs and looked at each other in surprise. Mr. Ryan was overly compassionate with his eyes and hand gestures. What did he wish for? Tell us. He wished. Jane paused and looked over the studio audience. He wished that I would have the last wish. The audience gasped. Now that is a virtuous wish, Mr. Ryan said. So, what will it be? The world is waiting. Images blazed through Jane's mind. Violence of man, children crying, death, destruction, the Babylon War. She remembered her parents struggling through life in the lower-class society. She gazed once more upon the studio audience and couldn't find a single soul with a heart of gold, just empty eyes of envy and worship. Well, Jane, come on. What will it be? Riches for everyone, beauty, fame, tell us, Mr. Ryan said. The entire world is in your hands. Jane looked at the panel of wish experts, Mr. Ryan, and the audience once more. The air was thick. Jane could feel the heartbeat of anticipation all around. My wish is, Jane paused, for humanity to never have existed. The earth went silent, just for a moment, until nature roared from the nothingness. The ocean waves crashed to the shores. The waterfalls showered into pools of water that teemed with water creatures. Birds flew high, and animals alike sauntered through plush landscapes, breathing fresh air into their nostrils. Giant trees filled all the lands, and where the four streams met, Saturn spoke once more. The millennia of Pisces ended the same way as the age of Aquarius. I will make the age of Aries in our image once more. This time they will find love at the center of all possibilities. Let's start with a woman. I will name her Jane.